My name is Nikki. I'm a technology instructor, and one of the most popular classes that I teach online is a cell phones and parenting course. Now, the tactic I am going to teach you today is used by the FBI, the CIA, and it is a proven tactic and one of the best skills that we can teach our children, especially when they are digital natives. That just means they're born into this digital world. They're born with cell phones, touchscreens, downloads, everything is instant and access at the tips of their fingers. They think that's normal. That's just a digital native, that's the term called. So, the tactic that I'm going to teach you today as a parent, as a guardian, provider for younger children is self-regulation. Now, when it comes to limiting screen time, you can, bark and yell and tell them, no, turn off your iPads now. And then they do it, or maybe there's a struggle and a fight, an argument, but it really doesn't teach them anything. They just want more. So, what can you do as the mentor in their life to get them to ingrain healthy screen habits? The thing that you can do is teach them self-regulation. Now, how can we do this? Easier said than done. So ask them start by asking them open-ended questions. They need to learn how to self-regulate on their screen. For example, you could say, sit down with them and say, hey, these phones are designed to be addictive, and I know that you love spending time on them, but how could we limit the time together so that it's a healthy amount and you can still live your life? Please note, when they're on their screens, it really affects their executive functioning. That is huge. So they will, when you're on the screen, your body won't even tell you like, hey, I'm hungry or I have to go to the bathroom. Your executive functions literally get sidetracked because your brain loves to be on the screen so much. So just talk about this with them and explain that too. But you need to come up with a solution by asking them open-ended questions. You could and explain what the device is for, how it's made too. Don't lecture. Remember, they have to learn how to self-regulate. Also, in those open-ended questions in the discussion about the device and the time on the device, you could ask them, what do you think is an appropriate amount of time each day? And just talk with them, but they have to come to the conclusion, and that will be ingrained in their brain. And then the last question I like to encourage parents to ask is, how are you going to self-monitor that or self-regulate that? Have them, it could be, with a kitchen timer or setting an alarm on the device, on the phone. But the key is that the kid or teenager has to do this themselves. It's not the parent watching them. The kid has to do that. They have to learn how to self-regulate. This is the most important skill. It does not matter if you grew up to be a brain surgeon or what school you go to. The ability to self-regulate is very tough, but it's a learned skill. And that is going to affect them for the rest of their lives and how much time they spend on the computer and with distractions and things like that. So empower them with open-ended questions, come up with a healthy plan. For example, you could ask them, how much time do you think is an appropriate amount of time each day? How do you think that we could, you could keep track of that? And then what happens if, what are going to be some consequences if that doesn't happen? Or you could even, we have some younger kids who like to use maybe a token system. That's another idea if they can't come up with a time limit. So for example, you could use a token like a piece of paper or something, and that's worth 15 minutes of screen time. And then they could have, 2 of those a day, or they could save them up, have any screen time one day and then save them up for another day. But again, they need to self-regulate and set the timer themselves. At first, it's not a habit. It won't be automatic for them. So as a parent, you can help, but don't yell, don't lecture, because again, then a wall goes up and they think, oh man, I'm not supposed to do this, but I really want to. They have to self-regulate and get that habit ingrained. And then slowly you will see them self-regulate. Set the timer, they can go on their device or watch a show, play a game, whatever it is that you guys decide. And then it's pretty awesome when that occurs. Then if they're like on social media for that time. Then once the timer's up, they turn off the device. You can put it away somewhere, like we have a basket for our technology devices that we keep that in. And then just lastly, with self-regulation, make sure that you are setting a good example too. So if they want to have a conversation with you, make sure that you set your device down as well. This is really hard because our life, is online, but hopefully self-regulation gives you a great tool to empower them to set up these healthy technology habits that will positively affect them and their families for the rest of their lives. So for more helpful tips, please subscribe to our monthly technology tip at socialclubsimple.com and keep your comments and questions coming. We love hearing from you guys. Thanks, everybody.